Too hot for TV.
Welcome back to another episode of Too Hot for TV. Doctor Who Too Hot for TV. We're doing Doctor Who again. What a surprise. Anyway, I'm joined by two guests today. First up, it's Chairman Babs herself. It's Joe Ford.
Hello! Oh, it feels like an age since I came on this podcast. How delightful to be here. I'm going to whip you all into shape and chase you around like a sex pest.
It's wonderful to have you here. And our very own Anzor, it's Luke Molloy, ultimately irrelevant to the plot.
Anzor's got like a deathly pallor and dressed like an Undertaker.
Reese, I will spank you over my knee until you are back to normal.
Okay, well.
I'm so glad I'm on this call.
I'm very excited for that. What a dream that'll be. Today we're here to discuss two audios, and maybe we'll dub this the sexism special, I don't know, but we're going to be looking at two Big Finish audios of lost stories that were never made. So, Luke, why don't you tell us what the first one is?
Well, it's the Lost Season 23. Was it the second or third story in? It's Mission to Magnus. So, I mean, all I knew going into this is that there's Ice Warriors, there's Syl, and there's another Time Lord that's a bully called Anzor.
What more do you need?
And on paper, that sounds great.
Excellent. And Joe Ford, what's the second thing we're going to be covering?
We are going to be covering the 4-part Patrick Troughton That Never Was classic, The Prison in Space by... Oh, God, what's his name? Dick Sharples?
Dick Sharples.
Dick. There's not much dick going around in these stories, if I'm honest, is there?
No. Now, Joe, tell me, do you like the creatures known as women?
Very much so, yes.
Oh, okay.
I don't hang around with them much because I mostly talk to Doctor Who fans, but yes, of course I do.
Luke, did you ever think you'd hear Perry talk about being soaked right through?
Doesn't she talk about that on pretty much every episode?
No, not as far as I remember.
Well, maybe in my mind.
We need to point out that in our little group chat we've got going on Facebook, Luke Molloy said the only thing he wanted to talk about in Mission to Magnus was a damp Perry. Is that not right, Luke? I feel as if you might be part of the problem, the reason these very sexist stories take place.
Yeah, I'm not joking. That was my favourite bit.
Well, let's leave your favourite bits for a moment and go back to 2009, December the 9th to be precise, when Mission to Magnus was finally available for people. Written by Phillip Martin, directed by Lisa Bowerman, and produced by David Richardson. News at the time, there was a radio documentary planned on the making of Sharda. 500 gold medals were being released from the Royal Mint with David Tennant's face on them at a small price of £150 each. And The Writer's Tale was getting an expanded release. Just finishing off Rusty Davis's first time on the show. From BBC Audio, we had Hornet's Nest, A Sting in the Tail, and Hive of Horror, featuring the Fourth Doctor, Yates, and Mrs. Wibsey. From Big Finish, we had Secret Histories, which is a Bernice book, Iris Wildtime and the Claws of Santa, Plague of the Daleks, featuring the Fifth Doctor and Nyssa, An Earthly Child, featuring the Eighth Doctor and Susan, Death in Blackpool, featuring the Eighth Doctor and Lucy Miller, Cybermen 2, and then we had the Panda Book of Horror from Obverse Publishing. The comic strip was The Crimson Hand, featuring Tenor Magenta. And on television, we had Dreamland, repeated on BBC One, BBC Two, and CBBC. And then we had The End of Times, Part 1 and 2. Oh,
don't you fucking ask us what of that we remember.
Which is your favourite? Go. You love The End of Time.
I could do it. Death in Blackpool is one of my very favourite Eighth Doctor audios. I think the 10 and Magenta Price run in the comics is superb. Oh, a lot of the other stuff you mentioned was pretty gutsy. Plague of the Daleks was a terrible story.
I don't think I've ever finished Dreamworld to this day.
Dreamland.
Dreamland. There we go.
Well, that's because
So
we
memorable
established
you can't remember the name.
that you hate cartoons.
Oh yeah, that did happen.
Yeah, Plague of the Daleks, I remember being the first time when I realised that the Daleks showing up in Big Finish was no longer a special thing. It was just going to happen, and there'd be some pretty shoddy Dalek stories. So sad times.
Do you know what? You could buy it, forego buying one of those gold-plated David Tennant coins, and with the same amount of money, buy 13 copies of Mission to Magnus and give it to all of your friends, which I think would be a much better use of that money, frankly.
I may well do that.
The Writer's Tale is one of my favourite books of all time, though.
Oh, did you mention that? Oh,
yes.
Fabulous.
When they expanded it to cover the specials as well.
Yeah, it's that version that I've read as well.
When will we get the sequel? You will be erased from Doctor Who.
I think Russell's more likely to do a sequel himself than Moffat would be.
I mean, who knows who he's been emailing late at night?
Let's not talk about Rusty Davis on this.
Sorry, yeah. We've got bigger problems than Rusty Davis tonight.
That's right.
If anybody out there has one of those coins, I couldn't find a picture of them, so please send me a picture of your £150 Doctor Who medal.
How many of them are
fucking money? 500 gold medals.
Oh, that's more than they press of the Big Finish CDs these days, so I suppose it's not too much of a collector's item.
Yeah, no, fair.
Too hot for TV.
The Doctor is lured to the planet Magnus by Ansor, a Time Lord who used to bully him at the Academy. The planet has been ravaged by a virus which is fatal to any male exposed to sunlight. However, Rana, ruler of Magnus, believes a neighbouring planet, Salvak, has found a cure and plans an invasion. She petitions the Time Lords to travel back in time and prevent the virus from ever being released. When Ansor refuses, Rana tries to steal the secrets of time travel. Meanwhile, the Doctor's old enemy Syl is on Magnus, apparently in Rana's employ. The Doctor lays a trap for Rana in Ansor's TARDIS, but it snares the other Time Lord, who is locked into a slow course back to the origin of the universe. Perry joins forces with a runaway boy named Vion to rescue the Doctor. Together, they investigate ice tunnels and discover that Syl is really working with the Ice Warriors, who set off a series of explosions to change the tilt of the planet's axis. This will make Magnus an Arctic world suitable for the Ice Warriors, and Syl will profit by selling cold weather gear to the natives. However, when the Ice Warriors decide to eliminate Syl, now that his usefulness is at an end, he reveals the existence of backup explosives. The Doctor sets these off, restoring Magnus's orientation. The Ice Warriors are killed by the return of the heat, and the Salvakans arrive to help rebuild the planet. This synopsis comes from ShannonSullivan.com.
Too hot for TV.
Can you remember in your time as a Doctor Who fan when you became aware that there was a missing season 23? Let's go for Joe Ford first because he's the older one.
Rude. Yes, true, I remember very early on, and back in my days when my friend Paul used to read me out the program guide, I think there was some information about the missing season 23 in that. So I was and he also knew about the missing Hartnells and all this. So I knew there was all of this stuff that I was never going to see. Yeah. And even then, the injustice of it not existing was real.
What about you, Luke?
It was when I got the season 23 DVD box set, the Child of Time box set, and there's a special feature on there about the missing season 23. It's about 15 minutes long, and there's like a graphic for each story that someone's made. And it was very much you watching it like, oh my god, we've been robbed of this incredible season with
until you listen to it.
The Toymaker and Ice Warriors and Autons in Shanghai. The pictures they used in that documentary. It's just one picture for each story, but it just looked really imaginative. It's like, oh yeah.
Didn't they do like a title sequence for each one? You know, like the Doctor Who title sequence with the title coming up.
Yeah, that
just so it was almost within grasp, but you could watch the fucking thing. You know?
I think every season of Doctor Who must look like this on paper before anything's made, and then it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
We're running out of time. We'll make anything.
There was definitely like this felt like I would rather have had this than say a missing actual episode at a point in my life. Because
Really?
I was so into Colin when I was younger
Yeah.
that the
Smart
idea
lad.
that he could have had this proper second series was really exciting.
The Children of January could have been yours, whatever that means.
Yeah. Oh, and there's
Gallifrey
the
by
track-
Pip and Jane Baker.
Tractators coming back and like driving in space or something. Yeah, amazing.
Well, as we'll get onto in a little bit later on, somebody's made that season just for you, but that's not for now. I first became aware of it when I went into a bookshop and I was collecting Target books, and I had my program guides and stuff, and I knew that the names of all the Doctor Who stories, maybe not off by heart, but I knew enough that when I saw one called The Nightmare Fair, I was like, there isn't a Doctor Who story called The Nightmare Fair. And it was that Target book. And from there, I must have got a Doctor Who magazine or something that told me about it. And again, shock, horror, outraged actually that they wouldn't make this classic series with these classic monsters returning. You've got the Toy Maker, as you say, you've got the Tractators, you've got the Master, you've got the Autons, and you've got Syl and the Ice Warriors. Like, that couldn't go wrong, could it?
It sounds just like season 22 to me.
I tried to read The Nightmare Fair, but the book wasn't very good.
So
But I just,
boring.
as a kid, I just sort of went, oh, well, I'm sure this is good. I'm just not into this book. Have either of us read the Mission to Magnus book?
Yes, I have it on my shelf. Yes.
Got it. I have got it, but I've never touched it.
No,
Yeah.
as sort of the collective works of Phillip Martin will prove in Big Finish and in other avenues, prose and audio dramas were not his forte. Let's say that.
Yeah, indeed. Are we generally, like, I guess we've been on Hamster, the three of us, and done Mind Warp, and we had some, I would say, a lot of positive things to say about Mind Warp. But let's come to you first, Luke. Are you generally a fan of his 2 TV outings?
Yeah, I am. I think, well, basically, we'll probably all make this point, but Phillip Martin just tends to repeat the same thing in Doctor Who. So maybe 2 outings was just about right. I can't see Phillip Martin being showrunner at any point.
Well, he's been dead about 3 years.
In an alternate universe. But even his Big Finish stuff, like Creed of the Croman, is very much along the same lines.
Yeah.
Saying that, but I do quite like Creed the Croman, and I do like Vengeance on Varos. And
He loves mutating a pretty lady, doesn't he?
He does.
That's
yes.
true. But I find it quite thrilling, I suppose.
Well, you're just that sort of person. What about you, Joe? Are you a Varos and Mind Warp guy?
Interestingly, I recorded the Trial of a Time Lord Strictly Come Hamster yesterday, and it almost came to Mind Warp and Vengeance on Varos being the last 2 standing in Colin's whole era. They were right up there as like the best of the era, with all the opinions that were being thrown at it. Yeah, I think he's an ambitious writer, and he's trying to do something different all the time. I think it's a shame Mission to Magnus wasn't made, because I think this, and we'll probably talk about this is the outlier. This is the one that actually feels genuinely a bit different, while still being as terrible as pretty much everything else he's ever written.
I think that's it. It's like everyone around Phillip Martin was still doing bad Doctor Who stories, but he was doing bad Doctor Who stories that were at least a little bit different, and they're just a lot more interesting to talk about.
Like Vengeance had that Arakaneta commenting on the action, and that just made that really interesting. And Mind Warp led to that amazing ending, and that makes that stand out. So there's always something about his stories. It's not like another Time Lash or Arc of Infinity that everyone just forgets about. There's something in there to grab hold of.
Yeah.
And in this, there's about 400 ideas in this. There's a million things to grab hold of in this.
So we're not actually seeing here a straight adaptation of the script, because the script was never finished. So when they came to novelize these stories, it's a 2-episode story filling the 2 45-minute episodes. He had episode 1 completed, and then the rest of it was storyline. So when he came to do the novel, he embellished and changed things a lot. So we're not quite getting, with the Toymaker story, you get all 2 episodes as were scripted, but here it's a little different. And I suppose he's delivering this story that, touches on some dodgy themes, shall we say. But does it work as a piece of 1980s Doctor Who? Could you see this being broadcast in place of Terror of the Vervoids or whatever. Let's come to Luke first.
Yeah, can I go first on this? 100%. This the best thing about this, as flawed as it was it actually really made me feel like I was watching a 1980s Colin story as it would have went out. Well, listening to it anyway. On that level, I think the production and everything about it was great as a nostalgic sort of exercise. But 1980s Doctor Who, Colin Baker Doctor Who, is not necessarily what we should be making. But I think with both of these stories, that is like the huge discussion point.
Yeah. I had a similar experience. I had heard this before and remember thinking it was shit, but going in as with the mindset of this is 80s Doctor Who, like, okay, it's probably on par with Time Lash maybe, which has got some great moments to it, but you can see where the production flaws would be if it was on television.
I can visualize this perfectly.
Yeah.
When listening, I could see the tinfoil in the sets. You could see Colin under that fabulous console carried away from Anzor.
Yeah, shitty ice caves, plastic ice caves. Yeah.
And they've still got those old Ice Warrior costumes from Monster of Peladon.
Yeah.
They're just dusted down. That one who always looks like he's smiling loads.
And also, like, even down to the dodgy science of like, oh yeah, we'll set off these bombs and it'll flip the magnetic cores and then we can turn it back. And it's like, that is such like post Bidmead shit science. It's untrue because I mean, Bidmead claimed to do science, obviously, but didn't really. It was a weird version of science. And Saywood throws all of that out the window. Is interested in action and is less interested in the science than ever before. So you just get this. It just like you wouldn't write a story like this now, but it fits perfectly into
You
the
most
80s.
certainly would not write a story like this now. Although I will say one thing. There was one thing about this story. Well, there's lots of things I really like about this, but there's one thing I really liked about this, which didn't feel like a season 22 story, was it had a lightness of touch to it. And a lot of 22 is grim and guns and mercenaries and death. And this is just a very sort of light science fiction story with far too many ideas in it for its own good. But it sort of skips from one to another. And I think the reason it's as light as it is because we're dealing with the Big Finish, Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant. I think if this was back in the day, his portrayal would be a lot more abrasive than it is here. So I think the regulars keep this light, but I'm sure we'll get onto that.
You are talking about a story where the planet gets nuked twice and everyone on the surface dies.
But it's got lovely little boys running around going, Perry, run!
Doesn't the Doctor like burn Ice Warriors to death at one point?
Yes, well, that's a casual day for Colin.
I'm just saying it's not the lightest.
I thought
it's hardly everybody lives.
No, I still actually thought they pitched their performances a little bit more in line with the TV show rather than the Big Finish version.
Well, listen to the scene where the woman's in his mind and he's going, "Oh, you're tickling my mind," and it's really playful and funny. And we didn't really get that Colin very much on TV.
I thought it was a bit dirty, if I'm honest.
Yeah, well, yes, in tune with the rest of the story. Then,
no, I suppose there's a certain he is playing it light. But I guess the undertones are still there if you want it. But I do think I'm sure Colin said that he went back to the sort of the TV Doctor here, or tried to go back as much as possible.
To be fair, I think I noticed it more with Nicola Bryant. I think she definitely sort of went back to that season 22 Perry.
She explicitly states that in the special features where she says, "Yeah, she read the script and she was like." Okay, we're back to the mid-1980s now. Not what we're doing normally with Big Finish. Suck it up and just say the lines.
Yeah, if you are recreating something that is, and the whole point of it is to be as authentic as possible to that era, then yeah, it's a case of just biting the bullet, isn't it?
Well, while we're on it, let's talk about the Doctor and Perry's characterization in this. So Perry, you think Luke is a little bit more 80s, but Joe, you're saying the Doctor is a little bit more Big Finishy. But how do we feel about this cowering version of the Doctor that we get at the beginning?
Fucking awful, isn't it?
It's really embarrassing.
So
and in fact, it's the
uncomfortable.
worst part of the entire story. Isn't it?
Yeah. That put me off from the start, and like, well, what is going on?
I remember trying to read the book of it again and not getting through the whole thing and just thinking, I don't want my Doctor to be this sort of coward. I know you get a little bit of it in the Twin Dilemma, but that's because he's having a full post-regeneration mentee B, you know?
I mean, if they had continued to make the season as planned, the ultimate evil had Colin going around with a bit of glass, threatening to slash people up. Like, they were still having a few issues with characterizing the Sixth Doctor at this point. And the annoying thing about that cowering under the console is Ansel don't have nothing to do with the fucking story.
No.
He's gone before the end of the first episode. So it's
Yeah.
like, what was the point of you? Why do you exist? Is that Saywood or is that Phillip Martin?
Oh, I don't know.
I was unsure whether it was meant to be like a comedy, to a certain extent, as if it was
a
like
drama.
if it was being misplayed as a comedy, like a comedic scene, because the Doctor's cleverer, more intimidating, and just more resourceful than this bloke. So why he's carrying under the top? It's just so odd.
And I don't buy that the Doctor would be like, no, especially not that version of the Doctor.
No, he fights everything.
Maybe Troughton. I could see Troughton hiding under and go, no, you know.
Yeah.
But and especially
This guy fucking strangled Shockeye with his bare hands.
mind you, Luke, have you ever been poked with a galvanizer stick? Now you don't know how painful they are. He did say you were in pain
Clearly.
for days. The last time I poked you with my galvanizer stick, you were in pain for days. So you know. But the weird thing about it is, right, the second that scene is over, I think Colin's characterization is fine in this story. The double bluff he does when he's in the woman's inside his mind to trick them and Ansel is brilliant. He just storms into the Ice Warriors, all bluster and ego and being commanding. He surrenders to blind chance a couple of times when he's deactivating bombs and things. You know, he's brave. He's really involved. It's just that scene. And it's because that scene was in the original fucking script is why it's there.
Yeah, and it reminds you of it at the end as well, because he comes back at the end to sort of like tie up that the Doctor's defeated his bully after all this time. Just like,
I did love the
God.
line though. Didn't you love the line? Oh, get stuffed, Ansel.
Well, yeah, just because I was just like, who the fuck is Ansel?
But also, the Doctor hasn't been on a journey through this story that says, oh, by the end of it, he's going to learn to overcome the adversity of a childhood bully. It's like, it's not a coming of age story.
No one goes on a journey in this script.
There's a lot of walking down corridors.
Fundamentally, it's just a very bad idea, isn't it? The Doctor as a character fights massive foes. To be cowering under the TARDIS from a school bully is...
We've already sort of done that with the Master anyway, you know, sort of his rival at school.
Unless the whole story was going to be about somehow exploiting the Doctor's childhood fears and, you know, making that... It just does not work.
And what is it like the reason why Ansel gets in touch is because he's accidentally triggered something in space, which means his TARDIS is stuck there, and in order to escape, the Doctor's TARDIS has to take
and the Doctor
it.
just
It's so lame.
It's convoluted as hell. And I wonder if,
is this the story? Is this what
I wonder if like JNT or Saywood said there needs to be a Time Lord in this. We want a new Time Lord.
It does feel like that.
And Martin's just not interested in writing that character.
In
Trial of a Time Lord, we got the Valiard. I mean, much better.
Yeah.
Just as you mentioned, convoluted, can I just read the first line of the plot from Doctor Who Wiki?
Yes, please.
Okay. The TARDIS is pulled through time by Anzor, who threatens the Doctor with his galvanizer stick into activating trans-replicator mode so that he and his TARDIS can escape a force field. Doesn't that just sum this all up?
Gripping. Absolutely gripping.
That could be any 80s Doctor Who story, though, if you started like that.
Because I think what you were saying about science, it's not the fact that Bidme gets science right or wrong. It's just the fact that it's believable.
It's an internal logic within the universe.
You can buy into that world, yeah.
But by the time you get down onto the planet, right, and it's the Magnesians, these beautiful ladies, you know, even the Doctor's delighted. What a load of lovely, beautiful ladies, he says at one point. And they're like, it's magic, isn't it? They've got telekinetic powers and they can move things with their minds and they can delve into people's minds and things like that. So the science is just sort of pushed to one side after that. Well, no, until we start talking about juggling up magnetic cores and things like that.
Yeah,
I
you're
actually,
right. It's shit.
I actually quite liked the fact the bombs were used to move the planet towards the sun and then back away from the sun. I know it's all bollocks here, but I was sort of expecting the bombs to just be bombs. So the fact that it was a bit more like exciting actually worked for me a bit.
when that plot finally comes in, right, the Ice Warrior plot, it's like,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
this is a pretty good plot, but it should have been the plot from the start of episode one, not the start of episode two.
So, what do you think, Joe, about how the Ice Warriors are used here? Because, as you say, they don't show up till halfway through.
No, it's true, and they are voiced by the voice of the monsters, Nicholas Briggs, who are noticed played a dual role in this story because he's one of the humans as well.
He plays
in
an even bigger monster in the.
To be fair, Big Finish only have a certain amount of cast members per release, and because this was a TV one, nearly everybody doubles up because they're
I could
trying
even
to
hear
stay
Lisa
as true.
Bauman's voice in there a couple of
Yeah,
times when
yeah.
the ladies were all screaming.
No, he's great as the Ice Warriors.
Yeah, I didn't say it was a bad
and
performance.
I can't ever judge him as just a person because I just know that's the voice of Nick Briggs. So it's really hard.
I could just hear that Ice Warrior going, we love stories or something like that. I thought they were pretty good. I would have loved to have seen the Ice Warriors in the 80s. That's one of the reasons I really wish this story exists. One is for more Seal, and two is I just want to see how they would, given what they did with the Cybermen in Earthshock, what would they have done with the Ice Warriors? Would it have just been the usual, or would they have tied up those costumes a bit? Who knows? And I think Phillip Martin's idea that, because he was basically told, we want you to include the Ice Warriors, and he went, oh great, old Doctor Who wants it, I'd be fine. And then he was given the tapes and he watched them and he went, oh fuck me, these guys are slow. He goes, and I'm all about action, action, action. So he thought, right, what I'll do instead is I'll have them stationary, I'll move the fucking planet, and that's how we'll get some movement going in this story. I thought when the plot kicked in episode 2, it felt like a good adventure romp with the Sixth Doctor in it. But we did have to wait nearly an hour to get there.
It does almost feel like they turn up because the plots are somehow running out, even though there's currently like 4 going on.
And we need a monster because we haven't had a monster for 45 minutes.
Crap. Ice Warriors.
I mean, not to take over your podcast, Dylan, I'm so sorry.
Oh, please do.
But I'd like to ask you both a question. Oh, who the hell is the villain in this story? Is it Anzor or Sil, Madame Rana, or the Ice Warriors?
I don't think there's actually many villains. I think that the Ice Warriors are the only people intent to kill a bunch of people. All the others are just out for themselves or out for their people. So I think
it's realistic, Joe.
You think this is realistic? Oh, live your life. Oh boy.
But yeah, no, it is like you are there going, none of these people are particularly likable, but none of them are quite the out and out villains, which is why it seems weird to wait till at the end of episode 1 to suddenly go, oh no, this is the big problem, especially because the return of the Ice Warriors would have been advertised. So it's that classic thing of we've just got to tread water until we get to the meat of the plot in episode 2.
There's never been a Doctor Who structured like this before. I can't think of another Doctor Who. I was listening to this at work, putting out stock, right? Thinking, what's this? Anzor comes along and he's supposedly the villain. And then he's gone before and then Sil sort of turns up and he was the villain in the previous series, but now he's the comedy character. Then those ladies turn up and they're kind of the villain because they want time travel. Then the Ice Warrior. And I've never known a Doctor Who this unfocused as to who that is.
Unfocused is a great word for it. Sil sort of plays that like Missy, which is familiar role, where she's just sort of like, where you've got a villain that everyone likes, not particularly being the main villain and just sort of giggling on the sidelines. I like Sil in this.
I really like the way that Sil is playing everybody, and he's got opportunities with the Ice Warriors, he's got them with the people on the different planets, and it's like, actually, I think I prefer him less as a villain, and as you say, that support role of just a complete bastard and opportunist.
He's definitely better as not the main character, that Missy side character, lovable guy out for himself.
I make an insane suggestion. You might think I'm madder than you already think I am. But after Vengeance and Mind Warp and this, and Antidote to Oblivion as well, I just think Colin Baker and Nabil Shaban have such great chemistry. I just wish Sil could have been a companion for a small run of stories.
I think that's amazing.
I don't know how it would have worked in history and things like this. But I just think, you're right, as a...
Well, it could literally follow
wonderful.
the Missy arc. It could literally be Colin turning Sil good, and
The only trouble is
locking him
he's
in a
so
box for 2,000 years.
he's so bloody racist all the time, isn't he? They ask for his neck, great clumpy hands, and that's how we'll have to tone that down a little bit. Although that's the least of this story's problems.
Let's talk about this story's problems.
Oh, can we play rate
thought
my
we already
plot
were.
lines? Sorry, not to sabotage your podcast again, but
Go ahead.
what's your favourite plot line? So I'll give you the 5. The world in which women rule and men die. Ice warriors blowing up the world for new Mars. Sil coming up with continual new business plans. The Doctor's bully returning from his past. And travelling back in time to stop a neighbouring colony coming up with an antidote and invading your planet. What's your favourite out of the 5?
That's 5 separate Doctor Who stories there.
I know.
I think mine's the Sil one because he reminds me of like some guy that used to be down my local pub when I was a kid.
Well, his plan, isn't it effectively like the meddling monk in the Time Meddler? Is that he's going to make a load of investments, then he wants to hop forward into the future and find out how his investments.
Well, that's one of his plans. Another one is that he's selling the men woolly blankets, isn't it?
Oh, that line. I have a wonderful line in winter woolies.
You do a very good Sil.
Oh, thanks.
Do you sometimes role play that in the bedroom with Mark?
You'll have to ask him.
What does this script story say about Phillip Martin's attitude towards women? Does he like them? Is he a feminist?
Do you know what? There's a big problem with every time any science fiction franchise tries to do Planet of the Women, because it's never a feminist statement. It's always how the men are affected or how the men can teach these women a lesson. It never works. And frankly, we've got 2 stories we're talking about today with this very troubling subject matter. And by pure chance, Derek Sherwin said, well, I ain't filming that bullshit. Give me the crotons. And Michael Grade saw good sense and went, we're not putting that on the screen, cancelled the show. Yeah, it's really very problematic because this is not pro women. This is still pro men.
Yeah.
And it comes to a very uncomfortable conclusion.
Yeah, where at the end, they're basically like the leaders of the 2 races are to be married because the men have decided so. And the women are dismissed as being stubborn for not wanting to marry. And the men just sort of laugh it off and go, oh, you'll get used to it. And then they project the image into their minds of what they'd get up to, which
he says, I promise you will enjoy the mingling of the sexes.
Oh my God.
That's Nicholas Briggs saying that.
I sort of, I mean, the thing is with this one is that there's so many plot lines going on that actually, like, it is just that, it's a Planet of the Women and we don't like men and they're not coming on. And actually, such a small part of it is that last 2 minutes where it's suddenly reintroduced and the men sort of reluctantly gaslight the women into needing them. It's really odd, and the attitude is like, oh well, we all need the old ball and chain, so we might as well get married.
At least in this story, that female society is shown as being sort of strong and in control. We'll get to the other story, but that's got the leader of that looking at a photo of the Doctor and snogging it and going, "Oh, this one man I must marry."
We've all done it. I know you. I know you've been locked away with a picture of Shooty Gatwa before, mate.
I've got a photo of you two. What are you talking about?
I mean, there's literally a line at the end where she asks, "What is her husband?" and Nick Briggs sort of laughs as if he's got like a pint in his hand, and he's like, "Ha ha! You women will soon know when you become."
To be clear, it's the character Nick Briggs is playing.
Yeah.
It's not him on the extras.
Although I did just write as my last note, Nicholas Briggs is a sex pest, but that's only because he's playing the character in the story.
And I do know what you're saying about Prison in Space, and we will talk obviously about Prison in Space, but I think this one is worse because I'm going to argue that Prison in Space plays it basically like a parody, and for comedy, even if that comedy is outdated. Whereas this almost felt sinister at the end.
Yeah.
This was almost sinister.
I'm going to argue that this is better, and it's not just because it's a Colin Baker story, so you can get that idea right out of your head.
I think this is a better.
I think
would
this is
rather
a more
listen to
fun
this again.
listen because it's just got so many ideas. It sort of skips from one to the other, and it's embarrassing, but it's nowhere near as embarrassing as that Dick Sharples dialogue in the next story.
I'd rather listen to this again, but I think the sexism in this gets less of a pass.
Yeah.
Because I just think it's a bit more sinister.
Yeah.
And it's also like 20 years later.
Yeah, it is.
They kind of should have known better at this point. Mind you, they did have Perry strapped in a cave with that
Well,
muzzle around her.
we said it
while a
those
giant
times.
penis
The
attacked her in
80s,
Time Lash.
the 80s is worse than like the sort of late 60s.
The Saywood era is worse.
It's the 80s when Perry's there, I think,
Yeah.
because I don't think Tegan suffers that indignity, and I
No,
don't
that's
think
true.
Mel does either.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
It's the tits, I'm telling you.
If there's one thing John Nathan Turner knew about, it was tits.
Excuse me,
the
he
line-
ripped her costume off in Twin Dilemma, didn't he? Can you please get Nicola in her costume? She's in it. No, she's not. Rip, he went.
The line that's
terrible.
quite odd in this, just because like I
Only one.
I didn't particularly feel like this was like really sort of going at the sort of sexist angle or feminist angle until Perry is like talking about the kids and she's like, "Oh, this is weird. I'm so used to alpha males," and I was like, "Where the fuck's that come from?" The dog he was cowering under the TARDIS 10 minutes ago.
This is why she ended up with Yukano. She's so used to alpha males. Although I knew we were in trouble when, and I did actually laugh at this line, so maybe it was the delivery, was when Syl went, "Do you like the creatures known as women?" And then Ansel went, "I can't stand them." I thought,
Yeah.
oh, we're in trouble. We are in trouble with this script.
But also, why would a Time Lord be sexist?
Phillip Martin said he is.
Well, yeah, exactly. He's a man of a certain age. Let's talk a little bit about the other cast members. As I said, there's quite a lot of them. But Madame Rana, so she's the leader of the women folk.
The Magnesians, I think they're called.
The Magnesians, wow. Wow. It does sometimes feel like it's a bit of 1960s sci-fi, doesn't it, rather than... So she is played by Maggie Steed. Then we've got... I mean, everybody's doubling up. We've got Jarmea and Tace, played by Susan Franklin. Ulma and Soma, played by Tina Jones. Then we've got Vion, played by William Townsend. Assam, played by Cullen Whitney Mills. Nicholas Briggs plays 4 roles, but his human role is Ishka. And then we've got James George playing a bunch of Ice Warriors and Husa. Do any of these supporting cast make an impact? I know we've talked a lot about Briggs, actually, so you may love him or loathe him, but he certainly made the impact.
Yeah, he always makes an impact. No, but then it's like it's quite hard, I think, because you got Colin and Perry, and you've got Syl and Ice Warriors, and then you got Nick Briggs, which is always like a bit of comedy as well, and Anzor that you're like, who the fuck's this?
They're all big characters, aren't they?
Yeah,
Well, I think that's why it's fun. It's fun because you're just amongst all of these crazy person. I'll tell you what, there is one actor that stands out. I thought we'd reached the nadir of child performances in the Stephen Moffat era with Angie and Auntie, but that kid as Vion, run, Perry, run! Like, he just has no urgency in his voice at all.
But I thought that was very 1980s. Like, I thought that was almost perfectly.
I don't think it was an acting choice, Dylan. I think he was just a bad actor.
There was an alien element to it that sort of worked for me.
Explain yourself.
It's like so sort of not real, but it sort of works. Well, I thought they were going to be like ethereal sort of beings early on, because I swear they say like, "Oh, we've been waiting for you for a while." So I thought they'd like summoned them through some sort of mystical powers, but no, they're just boys.
He just cannot deliver that dialogue naturalistically, though, can he?
Yeah, but
we have never been to the site of the suns. Have we?
it works for me in it trying to do a traditionally 80s sort of Doctor Who production.
It did, yeah. It felt totally authentic, yeah.
Do we think it's the right choice for this range and this story in particular to try and ape as much as possible how it would have been done at the time.
Yes, warts and all, I think.
Yeah. I think that the temptation to suddenly try and make this, bring it up to date and make it a bit more, exciting, do things with the pace and change some of the more problematic elements. But you kind of want to hear why it wasn't made. You don't want a lost story that you go, oh, that was so good. Why did they drop that? Which happens occasionally. For me, it's like, I've said this many times before, it's the only range of Doctor Who from Big Finish that has the right to be shit. And that's not to say it's a shit production, but just as in it can have plot issues, it can have underwritten characters, it can have all of those things and still be good. Any further thoughts, Luke?
Yeah, I agree with you both. I think as crap as it can be, as cursed as it can be, as wrong as it can be in the sort of modern day. If you're going to make this range, if you're going to go here, you are trying to recreate as perfect as possible what would have been there. And so we sort of want these interesting, dirty side streets into Doctor Who.
Interesting, dirty side streets.
Well, it is
a metaphor. It's a tricky one though, because I've had arguments with people online where they've said, when they're doing the animation, should they do the animation of the abominable snowmen of people looking as if they've got tape on their eyes, because that's how it looked on the TV show. And if you're saying that's the rule here, then technically that should probably be the rule there. Are there levels of what's acceptable to ape from the time?
I think they're different formats, though, aren't they? And I think
sexism is sexism and racism is racism, no matter what format it's coming out in.
Absolutely, but you're sort of releasing this almost with a warning sticker and going, this is what it's like. But the Crusade's going to come out at some point, and there are racially problematic things within how they talk about the people of colour in it, and those things will be in it. But it will not be a blacked up actor. It will be somebody that looks like that's their natural skin colour. And when you're dealing with those visuals, you make those choices. And they've made a choice to make most of those animations look completely different anyway. So I feel like it gets away with it a little bit more.
My point here is I'm the contradiction, because I'm saying I want this to be authentic.
But you don't want the other one.
And I don't want to see that in the animation.
Yeah.
I know.
So
I do know
I'm the problem here, rather than
but
anyone
also,
else.
I think the interesting thing here is the reason why it's not being made, and sort of what's, the sort of juicy things that you wouldn't do now. That's what we're interested in. Whereas, like with the animation, we're not interested in how perfectly they look. We're interested in a good viewing experience of a classic story.
It's one of the best things about Colin Baker's era is if the story itself is rubbish, the behind the scenes is usually really juicy,
Yeah.
And actually all of the Lost Stories have a sort of 20-minute interviews with the writer, the director, how the Lost Story came to be, what they had to go on. It's really interesting stuff. And, that's a whole package there, It's like the documentary as well.
Now, of course, eventually a visual version of this did materialise from our Lord and Saviour, Ian Levine, probably around just before the 50th anniversary, so this is quite old. He made what can only be described as a telesnap reconstruction of a story with no telesnaps and that's never existed, using the Big Finish audio, as he's done for most of these stories. Have either of you watched it?
I skipped through a bit of it just to sort of get a taster. I was sort of intrigued at how you could reconstruct something that wasn't ever constructed. Turns out with varying effects. I was genuinely just like, it was fine. It's certainly like it sort of looks like a colour version of like the Mythmakers recon, doesn't it? It's that sort of style where they've just used random backgrounds and actors. But does it make it any more palatable? Probably not.
I think if you're somebody that just, there are people that don't listen to Big Finish because they need visuals, and maybe this is a halfway point for them. I mean, ultimately, this was.
I'm not sure it's a halfway point though.
Well,
I'm sure. I'm going to assume that the people that struggle with Big Finish would also struggle with
a
telesnap reconstructions. Yeah.
But this isn't a telesnap. I have very little interest in what Loose Cannon did with the actual missing adventures. Ian Levine's inept attempts to complete his library of Doctor Who stories. I became aware that it was available recently on YouTube, and I took a look for about 45 seconds, and that's all I could stomach. Wow. It was so bad.
They're
I
not
would
to my...
rather visualize this in my head than look at those awkward stills with weird bits of animation in there and painted on glasses, and it's just so bad. I could do it better in a scrapbook.
I found it fascinating, and today I watched the whole thing, but out of one corner of my eye, I was working. I think this is the best one he's done, and that may be damning with fake praise a little bit. Obviously, now he's doing the AI reconstructions, and we could do a whole podcast on what the fuck's wrong with them. But
The others must be unendurable
but
then.
yeah, and that is because this is just a bunch of people dicking about in a couple of corridors and caves, and obviously he's picked actors that weren't, wouldn't have been in it back then, so it all feels a bit weird. But this is
Bloody Boris Hussein in his 8 Doctors. I mean, what's going on there?
or he'll pick people from like stock libraries, and then they'll be like models, sort of like in bikinis and stuff like that. But so no, it's not. It's
How
not
did he
good.
visualize the Magnesians?
As Star Trek women, I think.
Oh,
And I think he picked some people from Star Trek. No, they're not good. But this is, as I said, damning with fake praise. I've seen bits of all the ones he's done, and I think this is the best one. But I think you're better off going for a long walk and listening to the audio if you want to experience it.
I wouldn't know to compare it to his other stuff, but like I only forced myself through actual proper telesnap reconstructions as a painful torture to myself to try and get a grip of what some of the lost episodes might be like. It's just not something I would ever be interested in anyway.
Of
Yeah.
the versions that are available, the Target novel, Ian Levine's version, and just this Big Finish on its own, this is by far the best, I think.
I'd recommend this just because I really did feel like I was listening to a Lost Colin adventure.
Yeah.
Do you know what
that
helped?
had been made in 1986.
The music, it
Yeah.
felt so mid-80s, that weird sort of Liz Parker-esque incidental music that was playing, the weird electronic bleeps and blobs of Malcolm Clark.
It's the music, it's the delivery. There are people who can deliver really sort of emotional performances here, holding back and going, no, I need to be in the style of a 1980s BBC One sci-fi show, and that's probably down to Lisa Bauman as a director as well, going, no, don't over emote here. There's no one sending it up at the same time, but it's going, we're going to tailor this. They've probably all been given a copy of Time Lash and said it's got to be something like this, and that's what they've done.
It's interesting that they chose Lisa Bauman to direct both of these stories, which have problematic sexism in them. Maybe to say, no, well, we're not being sexist. We asked a woman to direct it. But the truth of the matter is Lisa Bauman will take the text that's given to her. She's a very competent director, and she'll
Absolutely.
make it work. And she does make it work, as truly ghastly as it is.
Does anybody have anything else they want to say on this one?
I liked how the Doctor killed any survivors of the first nuclear bomb by setting off a second nuclear bomb. Apart from that, no. Oh wait, there's the bit where Perry gets covered in Sill's juices, and they all have a little bit of a laugh. Yeah, I enjoyed that too.
You know that one of the 5 plots that you mentioned about the Magnesians wishing to obtain time travel technology to go back and sort out this antidote, killing their male. It was all very complicated, but I just thought that's a really clever way of just making sure you stay in charge and the men, don't trouble you. I did like it. I liked all the different plots. I just wondered why they were all mushed together.
That plot doesn't, and I did find it actually like unforgivable from a story structure point of view to just dump half of the characters out of part 2.
It doesn't have structure though. That's the problem.
No, in part 2, like these plots and these characters are put in the TARDIS and sent out the way for half an hour to introduce the Ice Warriors. Crazy.
And then, of course, the men from the other planet have to be there as well, don't they?
Yeah.
Up to no good.
Okay, and then when the TARDIS arrives, when it's absolutely relevant for them to come back into the plot, it's crazy.
But I did really enjoy this. Like,
Yeah.
I enjoyed this when I first heard it way back in the day, and coming back to it, I thought maybe this will be the time when it doesn't work. And no, I flew through it. I had fun with it, and now hopefully I won't think about it again for another 10 years.
Well, it's so full of ideas and sort of, and every time they get a bit boring, there's the odd shocking line. that like it was just hard to get bored in a way. Even and it's never confusing. Like you can see how things haven't matched up, and it was all a bit of a mess. But it's not a mess in the way that it's a confusing listen. You know exactly what's going on. Yeah,
I think it's the one time Philip Martin isn't, like, going back to what we said at the start, it's the one time he isn't trying to like make an impact by doing something insanely ambitious like the Big Brother style of storytelling, or how he used the trial in Mind Warp and stuff like that. He just wants to tell like a rollicking adventure.
This is his most trad Doctor Who.
There's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
You made a comparison to Time Lash, and I think that's very fair. It's as dreadful as Time Lash and as enjoyable.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
100%. So we must rate it. Is it a clanger, a banger, or an average meander?
I really enjoyed it. I'm going to say it's a banger with reservations.
Banger?
Yes, with reservations. I enjoyed it.
Average meander for me.
I am afraid I've got to go banger too.
Yes.
Can I go average banger?
Average banger.
Well, that's sort of where I am as well.
Yeah. I could, like, having really disliked it when it came out, coming back to it and going, wow, this is a lot of fun, even if it's got problems. Doing the recon version today, and even though not thinking the recon is like the definitive version, I just really enjoyed watching it again, or listening or experiencing it again. So I just think this is so much fun with all its problems.
That's the biggest question to ask is after listening to this, would you want to see it? Like the actual real one made in... Yeah, I would.
I would. I think I would.
It would be down in the bottom of all the polls with all the other Collins, but I absolutely would love to see it.
Okay, you'd love to see it, but you have to sacrifice one of the Trial of the Time Lord stories. Which one are you traveling?
Mysterious Planet.
Ultimate Foe.
Oh.
See, that was your question. You're finding it the hardest to answer.
It might have to be Mind Warp. I like Mind Warp, but I wouldn't want... I think I'd have to sacrifice a sill for a sill.
Oh, that's fair.
Too hot for TV.
Next up is The Prison in Space. It was written by Dick Sharples, adapted by Simon Gurrier, directed by Lisa Bowerman, produced by David Richardson. It was released in December of 2010, alongside, in a little box set, the unmade pilot for the Dalek TV spin-off, The Destroyers. News at the time, Torchwood The New World would start shooting a 7-month shoot in January in America and Cardiff. Ingrid Pitt had just died, and there were 3 stories for Series 5 of the Sarah Jane Adventures already in the can, and pre-production was happening to start work on the remaining 3, which unfortunately never happened. Other releases, Relative Dimensions saw the 8th Doctor, Lucy and Susan, unite once more. We had the 4 Doctors. We had Bernice Summerfield and the Dead Man Switch, the Demons of Red Lodge and other stories featuring Five and Nyssa, the companion chronicle story featuring the First Doctor and Susan Quinnis. From BBC Audio, we had more for Yates and Wibsey, Demon Quest Starfall, and on TV, we had Regeneration, the first episode of the K9 TV series. A Christmas Carol was first broadcast, and the comic strip was The Professor, the Queen, and The Bookshop featuring Eleven, Amy, and Rory. So, remember any of those? What do you want to say?
You went so fast.
I know. There's a lot to get through.
Relative Dimensions. It's about like a big fish in the TARDIS.
Do you remember how that starts with the chorus going, "This is Christmas," and the Doctor and Lucy come running into the TARDIS? They've just been shopping down Carnaby Street.
And they have Christmas dinner with Susan in the TARDIS. Oh, it's great.
And the TARDIS has stored up all of the old bedrooms and console rooms from all of the past Doctor Who stories. Do you remember that?
Yeah. And then the fish, because they're like fighting a fish or something, and the fish is the fish she gets from Quinnis, and then Quinnis comes out like after it, and
that was boring.
No one remembers how she gets the fish because everyone falls asleep halfway through.
I actually think Torchwood Miracle Day is a little bit underrated, actually. It's very flabby, and it totally goes off the rails at the end. But I think the first 5 episodes...
The first 5, I think, are great. Yeah.
Up until Vera dies, then I'm out.
We did it for Strangers about... I can't do spoilers on something that's like 15 years old.
Excuse me, he tells me off when I do spoilers on fucking Buffy. That was 25 years
when you know I'm watching it, dickhead.
Yeah, we did Miracle Day on Strangers in Space, and I really hoped that we would come away from it going, "Oh my God, love it. We were all wrong. We weren't. It was shit."
Did
But
you say that the Doctor Who comic strip was doing that?
The Queen,
That was amazingly good.
Which one is that again? Was that the
That's the
Narnia one?
It's the Narnia one with all
Yeah.
the fabulous. They go into that huge library,
loads
and
of
all the
Easter eggs.
trees are going around the edges of the pages. It was fabulous. The best 11th Doctor story ever.
wow. And were we fans of the subscribers only released the 4 Doctors?
No, Mark
I think
paid
I've
for his
heard.
nose to get that, and then we heard it. I said,
Yeah.
you wasted your time.
It's so depressing, isn't it, how bad nearly all of the multi-Doctor stories from Big Finish are.
Not
It's-
nearly all. All.
No, no.
Name one good one.
I like light at the end. I've said it.
Oh.
I've said it. I do.
Legacy of Time?
Oh.
I got that when it came out. I have no
Once
idea
and
what
Future,
happened
Zagreus.
So Grace is great.
And I must say, you was on a bit of a roll with that list, and then you hit A Christmas Carol, and we went off a fucking cliff.
What? It's a classic. It's a
Oh.
classic.
It's all
Is
right.
it a classic, a banger,
we've
or an
literally-
average meander?
We've literally got banger, average meander, and clanger here for Christmas Carol.
We do. Do you know what? Something you've made me realise is there's so much fucking Doctor Who coming out when these two are coming out.
I know.
How
I
can
was
we
just about
afford
to
it
say,
all and our mortgages?
I've literally I'm surrounded by too much Doctor Who, and yet
Me too.
you read stuff that come out to him, and I'm like, oh my God, there's still so much more.
Yeah.
When it got to sort of Time Lord Victorious, I was like, yeah, don't worry, I'm happy for there to be gaps now.
I've got all that, but I don't have Miss
You
Wiggly
loser.
up at Hornet's Nest. I'm going to get them Hornet's Nests at some point, just because I love the idea of Richard Franklin and Tom Baker teaming up.
Tom Baker didn't. Tom Baker was like, I don't know who Richard Franklin
Who is this? That's why I love. What is that dynamic? I don't know.
There is one conclusion we can draw from this great army of Doctor Who work you've just mentioned. Pretty much all of it, maybe Christmas Carol accepted, would have been more preferable to experience than The Prison in Space.
I don't know what you mean. Good link there.
I did get us back on track though, right?
Too hot for TV.
The TARDIS materializes on a planet where women have ruled for the past 5 centuries. They have disenfranchised men, banned war, and developed a way to extend their lifespans so that procreation is no longer imperative. The Doctor and Jamie are arrested, sentenced by President Babs to a prison satellite controlled by the Dolly Guards. They quickly recruit their cellmates, Albert, Garth, and Mervyn, into helping them foment a resistance movement, while Babs brainwashes Zoe and sends her to the satellite as an ambassador. Once there, though, Zoe betrays the Doctor and Jamie, and they and their collaborators are put on a rocket destined for a remote planet. However, prior to her conditioning, Zoe told other women about the way males and females coexist on Earth, and incites a revolution against Babs. The newly enlightened women rescue the Doctor, and Jamie frees Zoe from her brainwashing by spanking her. This synopsis comes from ShannonSullivan.com.
Too hot for TV.
Have we experienced Prison in Space before?
No.
Yes, I
Oh.
reviewed this on Doctor Who Reviews.
What did he say?
He gave it 6 out of 10, which is
What
above
the
average.
I-
Yeah, he's a cunt though.
I
That is
like
true.
him. I like him.
So-
What's that?
So I've got the script book here, which is how I've experienced it, which came out from the people behind Nothing at the End of the Lane. And it is original photocopies of all the scripts, and then with like a little introduction about how it was written and how it got rid of it. And it's got all the original handwritten notes scribbled on the scripts. And so I read that years ago.
Those people have no kind of a life, do they? If they put that together. Can you do me a favour?
There really
very
is
quickly?
nothing at the end of the lane.
Because Mark was telling me about that script book earlier, and I was desperate to know if the last page, the last scene of The Prison in Space, genuinely was in the script of Patrick Troughton being chased around by this sex-mad Sister Babs.
Hold the
Is that
line,
actually
please.
in the script?
Yeah,
Hold the line. Okay. Do you want some interlude music?
Ad-libs from Babs. Don't try to fight it. You know we were made for each other. We'll be married now, right away. Yeah, no, it's all there.
Oh, great. Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah.
I needed to know that.
And you get a lovely picture on the back, right from eight. I've got.
Oh my! I
glove.
did not picture her like that.
Is that Zoe?
No, that's just one of the the space people.
I thought it was Zoe as drawn by the person who did New Ace in the New Adventures.
That was Adrian Salmon doing that. He used to do all the Time
Oh,
Team stuff and all the
fabulous.
Bernie
Yeah.
stuff. So that is how I've experienced it. I've definitely listened to at least the first episode of this, but I'll tell you why I didn't get on with it a little bit later on. This is an infamous lost story due to many things that we'll cover. But it was written by Dick Sharples, which is never not a funny name. And it was originally entitled Doctor Who and the Amazons. And he intended to do this story set sort of in the past on Earth about the Doctor meeting some Amazonian women and much the same thing. And there was about 6 different titles that went around, but essentially his pitch was always Doctor Who in the land of extreme feminism. He was commissioned to do a comedy, and I guess you could say that this is a comedy.
It's worth noting, that there was 2 script editors at the time, both Derek Sherwin and Terrance Dicks. I would just like to remove Terrance Dicks from any blame because he had nothing to do with it at all. He came up with the replacement, the Crotons.
But
Double Dick.
It was Peter Bryant that ultimately cancelled it because he'd asked for a number of rewrites. They were done. It still wasn't good enough, and Sharples refused to do any more rewrites.
Maloney did read it though. I mean, that's a famous tale that he read it and said, "I cannot make this."
They went into pre-production on it. There were costumes made. There were designs done for costumes, designs done for sets, and they had to scrap it all and do it for the Crotons.
Is there pictures of them anywhere?
No, so David Howe tracked down the costume designer in the 80s, and they'd literally just binned all their designs about a couple of months beforehand.
Where was Ian Levine?
Only person that is sad that this story doesn't exist is Fraser Hines. He doesn't stop banging on about it. I've heard him talk about it time and again. We had this amazing comedy with these fabulous women in leather gear and all this. And, kinky git that he is, of course he wanted this made. I don't think anybody else was sad. This was scrapped.
Well, maybe Patrick Troughton wasn't,
Well, he's got enough problems.
Yeah, he doesn't need a third family.
Yeah.
A fourth? What are you talking about?
So, before we get into the more problematic elements, I want to know, do you think this works as a script?
So I'd never read this before, and the way my audio files are split out, I had a daunting realization partway through part 2 that this wasn't going to end in an hour and was actually a 4-parter. So that initially put me on a bad stead. I think it does work. I think it's fine. I thought it was mildly entertaining. I thought it was mildly offensive. I thought it was mildly interesting. And I think if as you said, it's been scripted as a comedy. I think it is like a parody. It's just the fact that it also fails as a comedy because the jokes are like as tiresome as just like, oh, go and make us a sandwich in the kitchen. It's in the way the Celestial Toymaker's outdated, like it's that sort of 30s, 40s kids drama. This feels like that as well. Like it's outdated even for 1960. Yeah, I think it works just mildly fine as a script and as a story.
I think the issue you have with comedy is that comedy dates badly anyway. So it's always going to be the thing that sticks out. And a lot of the comedy in this, because of the way it is, it's a sort of semi-narration, semi-acted. A lot of it is visual comedy that they just have to explain. So you're going, oh, I can see how that joke might have worked. Like, Jamie in drag or what have you. Ha, 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 very funny. Or Chairman Babs chasing the Doctor around, but you'll just not get... And, they talk about weaving in and out of this, that, and the other, and it's all very Benny Hill. But unless you see that scene created, it's very difficult to convey it. But yeah, it's just about a competent script, I think.
I think it is just like too parody and too sort of old-fashioned to sort of find offensive, though.
Yeah,
in a way, like it's so sort of old-fashioned and far-fetched that I'd be surprised if anyone found it truly offensive.
I thought this was a terrible script. Like, pushing the comedy aside, as a story, it's so basic. So little happens in this plot. And it's so linear. This is coming on the back of The Mind Robber, which
Have
was
you
like the
seen the
ultimate
Dominators?
mind fuck. The two stories before this would have been The Mind Robber and The Invasion, which is two 4-part stories sort of glued together that go in totally different directions, and that's really interesting. And then to have this where they land, he takes a pill, they go to prison, they break out of prison, Zoe gets brainwashed, they overthrow the civilization, the end. It's so basic.
Yeah.
I kept waiting for something interesting to happen in this story that wasn't stock Doctor Who cliche number 5, 6, 7, and 8, and it just never happened. I imagine that's why the script was ditched because it's so boring.
It's got a real feel of like Sunday morning Flash Gordon versus the Rocket Men or something like that. Like as you were saying, Luke, it's outdated even before its time.
They're
Yeah,
usually like 10 minutes long. They're not 2
Yeah.
hours.
I do think there's like a couple of Troughton stories that are exactly like this, just without the sexism, like in sort of structure and just
Name
bog
and
standard
shame.
run around. The Wheel in
Oh.
Space.
Oh, the Will in Space is fucking dull.
It is, but at least the wheel in space is trying to do things with characters. It populates the wheel and turns them into
German
people with
Babs has an arc.
relationships.
But no, but this
She
is
wants
the
the
Wheel in
Doctor's
Space
cock. That's
with
her arc.
sexism.
I'm not going to lie. I fell asleep 4 times listening to this, once
I
per
I don't think it was
episode.
that bad.
And each time, the last time was earlier today, and each time I had to go back and listen to like the last 10 minutes or so of the episode. And another part of the problem I think is that Magnus is a full cast drama, and this is 2 people narrating the story,
Yeah.
and I just didn't engage with it in the same way.
I have a lot of trouble with this version of it, and I wish we were at a point where I wouldn't have minded if it was Michael Troughton playing the Doctor. I prefer it as every time they do these semi-narrated ones with a few extra voices in the background, it just never works for me.
That's interesting because that really didn't bother me at all. I thought Heinz's Troughton was very good. I didn't even question it not really being Troughton, to be honest. And it never really struck me as anything different, even though it is not a full cast audio.
I'm coming round to Dylan's point of view because we talked about Heinz's Troughton when we did Return to Telos on Too Hot for TV. I actually found it a bit one note this time around because it's such a long story. He sort of brings the voice down and goes, "Oh yes, Jamie," and everything's sort of done in that sort of tone.
Yeah.
But Troughton, he was, "Oh my giddy aunt," and he did a lot more with his
They
voice.
should use you. That was pretty good.
Thank you very much. But like he sort of adopts this sort of perverted voice, and that's what we get for Troughton throughout. And
I didn't see it like that.
felt a bit flat to me.
I liked it.
Plus, I think they both know this is a dud of a script that they're trying to bring to life.
I think Fraser's trying to put his heart and soul into it.
Yeah, it's his favourite story.
They were gorgeous, scantily clad women. I won't go any further. I was about to say something obscene then.
My favourite bit, which isn't quite relevant, but I'm going to say it anyway, is just when Jamie goes into the shower room. I was like, you never see shower rooms like this in Doctor Who. It's like, no wonder it wasn't made.
I honestly wrote down, did Fraser Hines request the shower room sequence? Because it sort of goes like, Jamie was amazed at what he saw. And then there's a pause. And then it's like, and then he left and tried the other door.
Fraser Hines has spent 40 or 50 years just talking about shagging in every interview. His autobiography was called like Farms and Fillies or something like that. Yeah. And then he changed the name of it.
How has he not been cancelled?
I know. Well, there's Mark Donaldson tells the story of, in the first version of his autobiography,
the schoolgirls.
There's a story about some schoolgirls
recently.
Yeah, and it's not in the second version. But,
maybe associating him with this script is not a good idea, Big Finish.
Exactly. Well,
the thing is, though, if it was a companion from the 21st century, it does stick out more. But like, I know it's not in character for Jamie to be sexist, but like, you don't question it so much when he says stuff like, the Doctor says like, women take a privileged position here, and he's like, a bit too privileged, and obviously it's meant as a joke, but it also doesn't seem out of character in a way that Perry's saying, "Oh, I'm so used to being around alpha males," really felt out of character.
But this script goes out of its way to make the women stupid in this, in a way that I felt Magnus didn't.
And incredibly like sexualized, even for an audio play. I thought it was the Vord at first because it was like, oh, sexy, slim, black clad leather. And I was like, fuck, they're being watched by the Vord. No one told me the Vord are in this.
What's the actress's name playing Chairman Babs? Like, she's having the best time playing this role, but it's one of those performances that is so far over the top. You just can't believe in that character for a second. And we've got 2 hours with her screaming her head off.
But I mean, she's playing the material she's given, and again,
Yeah.
she's trying to do it in that 60s way. So let's talk a little bit more about the sexism, because it's interesting you mentioned Jamie. Jamie will be, I would describe Jamie in the TV series as slightly misogynistic towards women, but not an out and out sexist. He's quite overprotective in a way.
Victoria says, "We shall now change the subject to him," doesn't she?
Yeah, they basically get the balance right in the TV series.
Yeah.
For
somebody from not the 21st century or the 20th century, I guess. Yeah. But here I do feel like he gets some more sexist moments. And I just think this sexism is so badly handled, like that it just, not only can you see why it wasn't made, you almost wonder whether Big Finish questioned whether they should make it at all.
I think
This
that question must have been raised, yeah.
Yeah.
But like
not Magnus, but this one, definitely.
It's the same sort of thing though. That is the thing that makes this interesting. It's the thing that makes this into a curate's egg. And going into this, I went into this a bit like how I went into Necromantia for the first time, where everyone's talking about how bad it is, and you sort of can't wait to see how bad it can be.
There is something about bad reviews, right? That
Yeah.
makes you desperate to hear it.
So, like, if they'd have made this and toned it right down, that would almost be worse for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
And like,
if it's a parody, play it as a parody.
Otherwise, like, what's the point in remaking it? It's like what we said with Magnus. I mean, it's perfectly valid to be hypocritical about these things. If you think Magnus should be made warts and all, but not this,
yeah,
that is valid. But like, I think they should both just be made warts and all.
No, I agree. I just wonder whether there was any conversations within Big Finish of can we do this?
They wouldn't make it now, would they?
Definitely
No,
not.
I don't think they would.
Not since they had all that debacle with the Lovecraft invasion that Rob Valentine wrote. I don't think that they would face the scandal of.
I didn't hear
people's
anything
reaction
about
to
that.
Yeah, so it was a script all about H.P. Lovecraft, which gave a balanced view of his work. It went to the BBC and they said, no, you make him into a monster because he was a racist. Completely changed the tone of this script. They rewrote it and it went out and everyone hated it because it lacked nuance.
Right.
So yeah, there you go.
Wow.
But one of the biggest issues with the sexism in this is it's just like the core ideas of it. At least in Magnus, they go, oh well, there was an environmental something or another that meant the men all died out, and so we had to take over. Fair enough. If there's only women that can be on the surface and do all the jobs, happy days. On this, it's like Chairman Babs is a complete dictator. She turned the women into a fighting force. And then, get this, she banned all the things that men did. Wars, machines providing heat, light, and food. Like, as if women can't do these things naturally anyway. And so she made men obsolete and thus created...
How did the society survive? I mean, this is what I mean about it being fucking... it's a bit of a mess, but like, how did that society survive if they had no heat, light, or food?
God knows.
This is where, though, I think it's like so far into like parody, especially by today's standards, that like it'd be. I mean, yeah, I know I'm talking who I am, but it's like, could you really find this offensive?
But
like, you can find it a bit shocking, but like, surely it's more just funny at how fucking bad it is.
The two Ronnies did this. They did a sketch used to do like sort of 6 monthly sketches that went out in their thing, the Phantom Raspberry Blower of Old London Town. And it would be like a 5-minute skit each week, but the story went along. And they did a story about a female dominated society and men pushed aside and the men trying to get the vote and all of this. But it was 5-minute skits. The whole thing was about half an hour long. And it was done with lots of visual gags and fabulous wordplay the way the two Ronnies do. I mean, this is not that.
I mean, the problem is it could actually be like a sort of any sort of blanket allegory for prejudice or like sexism, feminism, but it just sends up the women by them all being a bit silly and making them like really sexy or not. I mean, the amount of times it goes on about Chairman Babs's toad face,
Yeah.
and it's like it's not really a character trait to have
Because
a
of
toad
course
face.
the face of feminism would be an ugly old woman, wouldn't
Exactly, yeah.
That photograph of Troughton must have been so wet by the end of the story. I don't know what she was doing with it. But
Yeah,
like,
so
by the end of the story, you've got the doctor, the bloody doctor. And here's a quote. We have to defeat the political system that sent us here, the system that denied man the vote, deprived him of his rightful position as a useful member of society, and took away his self-respect. If we're boxing the doctor into that role, this
Yeah.
script has gone down the wrong alley.
But it's got even more bullshit science than before, like the doctor's killed by a food pill temporarily, and then he makes like a sort of smoke bomb out of fuck knows what. He also manages to fabricate not only a uniform but a woman's flesh, sort of. The script says they manages to make a rough approximation of a woman. How the fuck do you make a rough approximation of a woman out of some odds and sods? What is this?
You know when he took the pill, were you expecting him to not be Troughton, not to be in the next episode? Because that was right at the cliffhanger, and I was like, oh, okay, so this was going to be a Troughton holiday episode. No, it was there. And then start the next one.
To be honest, I thought Babs's story was very surprising because she obviously starts like this big dictator in power, and then suddenly by like episode 3, she's starting to get ready and kiss the photo of Patrick Troughton because
because women are silly. That's what it's saying. It's like women can't be trusted to run things. They need a good man in their life. Even the most strict, stringent of feminists needs a good man in their life.
It's that case of literally the right man has walked in and now everything changes.
Yeah.
Even down to the names of the characters, they're making them silly. Captain Mavis, Sergeant Alice, Corporal Cynthia, Sister Minnie. They sound ridiculous.
Absolutely.
They sound like cartoon characters.
The other thing I thought that was bad, non-sexism wise, was like they lock the female prisoners in a prison when they overthrow it in part 4, and I think the doctor just says like 2 things to them, and Christ, they changed their mind quick. After like 40 years of being in the system, the doctor says 2 things, and then they suddenly start chanting, "Down with Chairman Babs."
That's women for you. They change their mind like that.
I was like, what?
And was I wrong, or was the moral of this story that if you put a woman over your knee and slap their bottom, then they'll know their place and stop thinking they're superior?
Okay, that bit was very shocking.
I couldn't believe
I've been holding off.
What am I listening
So,
to?
are we referring to Zoe's arc here?
Oh, you go that far? Or arse, did you say?
Arse, the
You
arc.
see a bit of it in
arc.
season 6, didn't you?
Yeah.
This is the bit. I'll put an asterisk on that comment about it not being too offensive, because this was the bit that I thought was quite shocking. Because Zoe is brainwashed to now hate men. The only way they can get that out of her is by Jamie spanking her. I thought even worse than listening to Jamie spanking Zoe and Zoe crying was the doctor just like saying, yeah, it was the only way. Them accepting it, laughing about it. Oh,
Razor Hines masturbating while he's doing it.
The last scene is almost as offensive as that, where
that
the
is
doctor's being
immediately
chased
followed
around
by
with this
Babs sexually assaulting the doctor over a
stupid,
lady
horny
garden.
woman who's been deposed of power, and it's literally like, oh no, oh, get away from me, woman. She's like, oh, come here, doctor, I will have my way with you. And they're like, quick, get the TARDIS doors open. I'm like, how is this supposed to be funny? Like, how would this have looked on the screen?
I say, if you stay until the last 10 minutes, it's a roller coaster. It's worth sticking for.
But the caveat of if you stay is real.
Yeah. You mentioned there about how would it look on screen. Like Series 6, did it need more levity? Did it need a story like this? Would you rather have this than any of the other stories in the season?
You deliberately saying words. You said levity and I heard lever. You said arc and I heard arse.
This is you. This is just you, Joe. That is how your mind works.
It's this story.
I'm trying to, like, I would possibly have this story rather than...
What are you losing? What are you losing from Series 6? Invasion.
I'm trying to think of something that I never think about with something that's quite, in a way, juicy. The invasion. No, probably like the space pirates. I know it's probably good, but it's gone.
Yeah. So this would be gone as well. We'd have one episode. Episode 2 of this.
Episode 2 Where which one is? Oh, that is the one where he takes the pill, isn't it?
No, this would be the one time episode 4 survives.
Excellent. I'll be there for
That
it.
episode 4 would be funnier in Telly Snaps.
You just know John Cura would get all the right moments as well. Fraser Hines' hand bearing on Wendy Padbury.
Yeah.
Imagine that in AI.
Has he made it?
No, he hasn't done this one.
Give it time.
No, well, you never know.
A lot of writers sort of forget to do anything with the characters in incident, and I know I'm expecting too much from like Dick when he's
Dick
writing
Sharples.
this. When he's writing this script.
Hey, I'm Dick. I'm Dick Sharples.
Yeah.
Massive sexist and funny writer.
You'd put Richard on this script, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
The part 1 cliffhanger where they're fired into space in them like pods, which reminded me of Planet of Evil, actually, that bit. But like imagine if Jamie on his own in that pod was like having a panic attack because he's cramped in.
Yeah, but he wouldn't
like
be.
but actually, like you could see that in the new series, actually making the sort of incident mean something for the character, and like that sort of not being able to cope when no one's looking, and showing that men, put on a facade in front of other people. Like you could have put something really interesting there, but as I say, I'm talking like new series spin on it. I was thinking of Jamie having a panic attack in that pod. I think, this would be really interesting.
I think that's a good point. I do think that's a good point that there is a more nuanced version, but it didn't exist in the 60s. I don't.
There couldn't be a less nuanced version of this story.
Or in the 80s.
Like we've been saying about the comedy, Jamie, put your kilt on, pretend you're a girl, blah, blah, blah. Like that would be absolutely agonizing. But then when I look at the Dominators on paper and those scenes in episode 2 where the Doctor and Jamie have to pretend to be like simpletons in order to fool the Doctor, it sounds awful. And then you ask how Hines and Troughton's do it, and it's really fun material. So maybe if somebody of Troughton's caliber was involved in this production, somehow it would be offensive, but maybe they could make it funny.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Hines and Padbury can't do it in the narration, however.
I could see Troughton running away from Babs at the end, him being able to do that in a way that's not.
It'd just be like the end of the invasion, wouldn't it? When he's running away from the explosion. All of that.
Yeah.
Now, do you know there was almost a Hartnell version of, not this particular story, but with this concept? The Hidden Planet, which was supposed to be the second serial of season 2, pitched by Malcolm Hulke, was Earth having a twin planet that was dominated by women. If only the script for that existed.
We sort of got the Dravins, didn't we, in Hartnell's time?
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose we did, yeah.
It's funny you say that because I was like, imagine this with Pertwee. He'd have kung fu Babs out of the Sky Garden in about 2 seconds.
He probably would have shagged her as well.
Yeah.
He absolutely was charming with anyone in charge. You'd be like, oh, madam, let's go behind the trees, shall we?
Was this... I don't know if I missed something, but I swear in the first part, he says they've landed on prehistoric Earth.
No, that's just where they think they've landed.
Right, that really confused me for a while.
Yeah, and there's also a point where, I mean, there's a few things in there. Zoe says she's from the year 2000. Zoe also mentions the Yeti, which obviously she's never met.
Oh, I noticed that, yeah.
But I wonder whether there was still that third Yeti script planned at one point. So maybe
the Laird of McCrimmon.
Yeah, before
coming to a Lost Stories range near you.
Is that?
No,
they don't have anything for it, do they?
It's Hazeman and Lincoln. They can't make anything.
Oh yeah, true.
Only Andy Frankham Allen can do that.
Well, fingers crossed he'll pull that one out.
No, the similar thing to this with Mission to Magnus was that, again, I could really visualize this on 60s sets with 60s pacing, in black and white, 60s tits. The whole thing.
Pointy tits.
And that was nice in a way. Again, it did. Both of them succeeded in the brief of it felt like it was a lost story, basically.
I could see when they got in those capsules, the ropey little model shots, or like just like a light on the screen, and then the rest of it's just silver
on
corridors.
A string.
Which, like, quite a lot of the time with Big Finish, if I'm listening to like a recent second Doctor Big Finish release, I don't picture it like that. Like maybe the music or the acting or whatever.
Well,
But
they did some more lost stories with the second Doctor, Jamie and Zoe. They did a really bad one called The Queen of Time, which is the Celestial Toymaker's sister
Yeah.
who comes along to cause trouble. But it's all on these vast sets and they're hanging off pendulums and things. And there's no way in a million years they could have done it on a 60s budget. So on that one single level, yes, let's say this was a success.
My issue as well is I think it lacks a good monster or like a robot or something like that. It just
Even the
needs.
Dominators has got a robot.
Yeah, and all the women need is like female Quark or something like that, and it would work a little bit better. But it
That's
is
true.
just
On screen, the tits might be enough for you two, but I'll be bored senseless.
Rusty Davis always says that, like chucking him like a thing
Yeah.
in the corner. That's why the links exists, I think, for Unit.
Yeah,
It's just something in the corner.
Do you know, the biggest difference between this and Magnus was I laughed at Magnus, but I laughed.
Yeah.
I didn't laugh once at this. The comedy was just too broad, too
I
over
didn't-
the top. And
I
I
wasn't-
like broad and over the top. I'm a panto man. But this was just outrageously stupid.
Yeah, it's shit, but I wasn't laughing at it. I was
wasn't
sort of
laughing.
enjoying.
Were you laughing?
No, I was enjoying how sort of outdated it was.
Yeah, I didn't laugh at any punchlines or jokes, but there was a few things where I was like head in hands laughing. I can't
Yeah.
believe they did this.
Yeah, the last scene.
And I think we're in a world where Doctor Who, pretty much across the media, is the ethics and the morals are sort of set in stone, and it's quite limited in what it would ever do. Now, I'm not saying it should do this, but it was oddly refreshing. It was like a spoonful of mustard after, I don't know, 20
I know what you
tiramisus.
mean.
Yeah. When you
Like rolling around in shit after being in heaven for ages. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's just again like why it is worth having this Lost Stories range and sort of going, you don't know how good you had it with the Crotons.
But I don't want to say there's no good lost stories because they are
No.
hit and miss, but they are absolute hits in that range.
And again, they are allowed to be misses because they were kicked off for a reason. Do we have anything else we want to say on this particular one?
I had one more note really that I didn't mention. I just said in my Doctor Who review, I said with its overtly sexist messages, a wealth of escape capture moments, and an agonisingly linear storyline, I'm surprised Terrance Dicks wasn't fighting for this one to be made because that's his MO. But no, even he thought this was ghastly. No, this just didn't appeal to me at all. The way it was brought to life with two people reading it didn't appeal. The script didn't appeal, and the performances, it was a massive flop for me.
What about you, Luke?
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed the sort of shockness of it, but even those were just like small kicks, which were actually quite few over 2 hours. It was fine. I wouldn't say it was absolutely terrible because it's just an interesting little peep into what shit could have been on screen and could have been part of the DVD shelf and all that sort of things. Mildly entertaining, mildly offensive.
Yeah, I would say I enjoyed experiencing it, even if I didn't enjoy the thing itself. And I just do wish that it had been done at a time where Big Finish were recasting roles and doing full cast audios for 60 stuff, because I think it suffers even more from it not being a full production. So
it's one. I mean, Magnus is sort of like this as well. They're interesting rather than particularly enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I thought Magnus was enjoyable though.
Yeah.
In a way that this kind of wasn't. Can I ask you both a really serious question while we're talking about sexism and things like this? It's the one time we can get down to the nitty gritty of this. Like, to sort of determine which is the better of these two stories, what would you say is your preference? A dominatrix Zoe or a dripping wet Perry? What sort of turns you on more?
Perry is dripping wet in sill juice.
That has his virtues.
Yeah, it looks very lubey. I think I'm going for a dripping wet Perry.
Luke?
Yeah, always Perry.
So I was sort of saying Magnus is slightly better.
Yeah, for that reason only.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just quite sad when Jamie spanks her, she cries. I mean, that's just bad.
No, because also the Zoe we know would punch him in the fucking face if he did that.
But she's not the Zoe we know, and the
yeah,
only way
true.
to change her back is
She's
to
been
spank her on
corrupted.
the arse.
She's been corrupted by the disease that is feminism.
Well, genuinely, the thing we're learning from this approach to doing Planet of the Women is that you just can't reach an agreeable conclusion with that premise.
No.
So just don't do it.
Just don't do it. So, prison in space. Does it clang? Does it bang? Does it average me and? Let's go Joe Ford first.
I mean, if Chairman Babs had her way, she'd be banging him all the way home. But no, it is a clanger for me, I'm afraid.
It's a clanger from me too. What about you, Luke?
Well, me, sexist Molloy, is going to go absolute bang. No, it's an average meander. How can you? I mean, it's got Chairman Babs. Every time someone says the name Chairman Babs, it makes me chuckle.
It is.
She did have a sort of Servaline way of delivering exclamations. Full power! She goes at one point. She is fun. She's the best thing in it. Who would win in a fight between Chairman Babs and Madame Rana?
I don't particularly remember Rana so much, but Babs made an instant impression.
Yeah.
Babs would fuck her up.
And then shag her.
They'd be fighting in oil.
Do we think there is a world in which Doctor Who approaches a subject like this now? And if so, how?
No. No,
Yeah.
What you do now, the way you do a feminist statement in Doctor Who now, is you have extremely competent, well-realised female characters that are more than half the cast, or more than just one person in the cast, doing smart things, having character journeys. Pretty much what the new series does now. They have a feminist agenda. It's not this bullshit.
What about you?
I think we just repeat the same sort of thing.
Shut the fuck up.
Too hot for TV.
Gentlemen, thanks for joining me on this journey through two of Doctor Who's more contentious lost stories. Joe Ford, if people want to find you on the internet, if they haven't heard you podcasting, because you don't do it very often, where can they find you?
No, I'm practically mute, if I'm honest. People know where I am, I think. Hamster with a blunt pen knife and its variations. Strictly Come Hamster, the book club, Untitled Star Trek Project, the now defunct Buffy podcast, Bite Me, and various other places. Just go to a podcast catcher. I'm probably there.
Excellent. And what about you, Luke Molloy?
You'll find me on Joe Ford's podcast, probably.
The three of us together. If you like this episode, go and find mine.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of the terrific trio.
Next time, I'll be joined by Ross from the General Witchfinders for a spooky Halloween spectacular. We'll be looking at the BBV audio Guest for the Night, the DWM comic strip The Curse of the Scarab, and Big Finish audio, An Alien Werewolf in London. So that's vampires, werewolves and mummies coming to our Halloween special. But until next time, I've been Dylan.
And I've been Joe.
And I've been Luke.
And this has been Doctor Who, Too Hot for TV.
An evil frown, sadistic eyes, a sting in his tail. His vengeance and Barros cannot fail. He's got no legs, so what a trick to fight on. Turn your back and he'll steal your sight on. Shiny body, an ugly mug. He's nothing more than a giant slug. Oh, that's Bill. Oh, that's Bill. Oh, that's oh, that's He gets right up the governor's nose. He's sick, and so are his videos. He wants the doctor, he's dead as death, to televise his final breath. Oh, that's Phil. Oh, that's Phil. Oh, that's Phil. Oh, that's Phil. that's Phil. Oh, that's Phil. Oh, that's Phil. His lesson he will never learn, so next season he can return. Oh, we all think he's truly fantastic, because his costume is made out of plastic. Oh, that's Phil. 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 He ain't no windowsill. He don't use no clearer sill. He's a wicked nasty sill. Oh, that's Phil.
Doctor Who. Too hot for TV.
You said you had something you wanted to say about the Lost Stories,
Oh,
Joe.
yes, please, may I? So I've just got one other thing to say about the Lost Stories, and I don't want you to feel as if I do have an anti-Nicholas Briggs agenda on Too Hot for TV, but I really want to make this point because I do think sometimes these creatives are completely out of touch with what Doctor Who fans want, because David Richardson goes on record, and Nicholas Briggs, in the documentary series saying Briggs wanted nothing to do with this series. He didn't want to make it. He wanted no part of it, apart from doing, the
Gary
usual
Russell
monster
didn't
voices.
either, did he?
I know, and said there's no market for it, and Richardson literally had to fight and suggest until they eventually wore them all down, and they said, fine, let's do it. And what happened? The fans fucking lapped them up. The sales were amazing, and now, they've got their fucking Hoover down any dead Doctor Who, ex-Doctor Who writer, to suck up any old synopsis they can find.
Lost stories, some
Exactly.
stories that actually exist.
They're desperate, and this range has run and run and run. And so I say, I just want to give a massive thumbs up to David Richardson, because he went on a hunch that Doctor Who fans would want this stuff. And I think he was right, and I think it's good that they exist. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say, was that...
I was going to say, I think it is something that Doctor Who fans have always wanted. I can understand the resistance from Gary and Nick at the start of being like, we've only got so many slots per month, so why would we give them over to this old shit to a certain extent? But by this point, when we're going through the list of releases and Big Finish have got 4 or 5 releases a month, I think it's absolutely fine for one of them to be, when you've only got one monthly slot, I don't think Prison in Space or Mission to Magnus is a good use of that spot.
That's a reasonable argument if we're, instead of doing the Lost Stories, we're doing the 5th sequel to Death to the Daleks instead.
Yeah, but I'm
look
talking
around and read the room.
I'm talking specifically at this point in time, sort of 2009, 2010, when they started. It was the right time to do it, but it wasn't a few years beforehand when their output was less.
Well, my point is, I think people point at these and go, oh, that dreadful Lost Stories range, how embarrassing, blah, blah, blah. I think people were hungry for this stuff, and I think it was received extremely well, even if the quality was intermittent.
Yeah, we love it. And as I said before, it's allowed to be bad because these things weren't made. And as you say, once you get something like The Elite, which is one of the best Big Finishes, in my view, and that is a Lost Story, you go, okay,
Point of Entry, I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, there's some brilliant ones. Even like things like the Macross or whatever it's called, which isn't amazing,
No.
but it's just like, again, it's another little bit of 80s Doctor Who that I can stick on every 5 years or something and go, oh, that's an okay episode of Doctor Who.
Doctor Who fans want everything.
Yeah.
Like, and the closer it is to being on the TV, the more we want it. So
but the reason we obsess about the missing episodes, the reason we obsess about Sharda, the reason we obsess about the missing season, is because we can't have it. So to get this, it's a massive gift to us.
And I know we're saying, oh, they're allowed to be bad and they're crap, but they're not that much crapper than quite a lot of the other stuff Big Finish put out. They're not, though. Like, I've listened to more boring Big Finish than these 2 stories that have just passed me by and not made any sort of impact on me whatsoever. I'm not going to forget these 2.
You won't forget Magnus or Prison in Space.
I have a question for you about another Big Finish range that didn't take off then. Why do we think the New Adventures and Missing Adventures adaptations didn't take off? Because fans wanted them for years and years and years.
I struggle with them listening to them because of the amount of characters and how sort of dense they've the plots and stuff have to be, because they're compiling a book into a 2-hour audio story, and I just never think they quite work. I remember listening to John Dorney on the Greenway. Is it the Green? What's the Gareth Roberts one? The English Way of Death, and it's got the policeman on the front cover.
Yeah.
And he knew he had to include that sequence because that's the big image from that story. But actually, on audio, that sequence doesn't work, and he says that pretty much on the behind the scenes. And there's things like that just don't quite work. Also, every Doctor Who fan knows what a TV lost story is. Not every Doctor Who fan is particularly versed in the Virgin New Adventures, and
that was going to be my answer. Is that every Doctor Who fan loves the TV series. A fraction of Doctor Who fans love the New Adventures.
And also, I think it's this thing that it's sort of building on what you were saying, Luke. If you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, for instance, they will take a plot line or an influence from the comics and then turn it into a movie. They won't just adapt a comic book to the screen, sort of scene for scene, because it won't work. And I think they are trying to be too faithful to the books, which are too dense, and actually they need further adaptations. As you say, strip it back, key scenes, key characters, and do your own thing with it, and it might work. But they all just come across so much of a mess, and then the people who love them go in and go, well, this isn't as good as the book that I read when I was 16 years old in 1997. So it's sort of on a losing streak.
But the fans
disagree with every point you made just then.
Really?
One, I genuinely prefer the audio adaptations to the books that they did. I prefer the Damaged Books adaptation to Damaged Books Goods the book. I think they are a lot denser. There's a lot of love that goes into those novel adaptations. They're great productions.
Yeah, I'm not disputing it, but I just don't think a lot of them work on audio.
Well, I think you got a fraction of the fan base, and them fans want as close to the book as possible, but on audio. And them two things are just very hard to do.
But it's worth noting that when Goth Opera was announced recently, that was the most positive reaction I've seen to anything Big Finish has announced in years. So I think there is a market for it, just not as big as Big Finish would like in order to justify the range.
Well, the same thing happened with the comic adaptations, didn't it?
Yeah.
That they called it Volume 1 and there was never ever a Volume 2.
Yeah.
And we've all got different information about the TV lost stories, right? We've all discovered them in different ways, whether it's the targets or information in DWN or Ian Levine's lousy reconstructions or whatever it is. And so half the fun of listening to these things is being angry and go, well, I got that wrong. It's like a hate listen half the time. And it's like I'm really curious about this the other half. I can absolutely see why these go on.
Yeah. Going back to the New Adventures, I remember listening to Nightshade, which I thought was an amazing book.
It's very boring, the audio.
It just doesn't work on audio for many reasons. But
whereas those three, I'll say it very quietly, Gareth Roberts' Missing Adventures that they did, they were great audios.
Yeah, I can't really remember.
I wasn't bothered about the Well-Mannered War.
Romance and a Crime was fabulous.
Yeah, is that the one with the mask?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Margot.
really good.
Yeah.
That was really good. My favourite one was the Damaged Goods adaptation as well.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the one where they did do something different and sort of condensed it down and changed it, and they made it more like
they turned it into Doctor Who.
It's no longer for an audience of 10,000 20-year-olds in 1996. They had to do something different.
They took an extraordinary book.
Yeah.
Absolutely extraordinary. One of the best Doctor Who books ever, and turned it into a Doctor Who book. Doctor Who audio, sorry.
Yeah, for 2015 or whatever it was.
How long do you think it'll be until they make missing stories for the new series?
I think Russell T Davies doesn't want... I know that Nick Briggs has said they asked about doing some of the ones from the RTD era, and he said, no, I don't want them done.
Because I would love a few of them. There's like the Most Haunted one, isn't there?
The Stephen Fry one.
The Stephen Fry one. There's that one where Rose was a test tube companion.
Yeah.
I don't care how much Chibnall's got of a synopsis of that Planet of the Patings. I want it.
The thing is, I could see Chibnall and Moffat going, yeah, you can have it, but RTD just said he wouldn't.
It sounds very much like, and I know we're off topic, the reins were off when Chibnall and Moffat, they could do kind of what they liked.
Yeah. and now the reins are back on.
Less so.
There's Mark Gatiss' Nazi one as well, isn't there?
Yeah. So there's a DWM special coming out, which was announced today, and it says they've got a big article on one of the unmade 10th Doctor stories, and I'm wondering which one it is. But I've pre-ordered that because it's got
I am going to do the same.
Yeah. See, look how excited we are about lost stories. My point exactly. Any little scrap that could have been made.
Anything.
We're desperate for it.
And just completely, we'll cut this bit. I'm obviously looking at Series 3 for the next Strictly, and I was surprised by how much I really enjoyed the Shakespeare Code, and I don't know whether I'm going to be positive.
I watched it and I loved it.
Yeah,
so
it was great, wasn't it?
I'm just going to say I loved it.
Yeah.
It's great. Rose would know.
Yeah.
Fucking great.
What a prick. But honestly, I was like, because I've been very anti-RTD, it's been nice to watch these episodes and remember when I really liked the stuff he was doing.
Series 3 is so, I'm halfway through and I'm loving it. I'm loving every
about to do the
second of it.
I'm about to do the Dalek two-parter. So
it's
great.
So much
it's
better
genuinely fun.
than people say.
Yeah.
I think I remember enjoying it at the time and then jumping on the bandwagon of like, oh no, shit. But
I preferred Evolution of the Daleks this time as well. Sorry, I should be keeping my pants.
Hands
in the air.
It's been great to revisit it.
Do the do the New York line, Luke.
Oh, which was that?
If aliens had to come anywhere.
If aliens had to come anywhere, it's gotta be here. New York City.
I've heard you do it better.
3 L's and a H.
Oh, so great.
Anyway, that bit's being cut.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do a goodbye and then we can talk more about this if we want to.